Tell
Yeah.
everybody your name and where you're from, and then we'll go from there. Get
Hi, my
myself
name is
situated.
Kim. I'm from it's a little city outside of New Orleans, but we just say New Orleans, Louisiana, because we're literally like right next to New Orleans. So.
That's fun.
Hmm. But yeah.
So I'm really interested to hear your story because your daughter, I would never look at
Yeah.
her and think she has BWS. So I'm like, where did they even
Hmm.
begin to get her
Yeah.
diagnosis? I'm so curious.
It's crazy. Well, it all started off with the pregnancy. I've always struggled with crazy pregnancies. With my son, I had preeclampsia, and I miscarried first, then I had him, and I had preeclampsia. And then I got pregnant like when he was 3 months with her.
Whoa.
He was
Oh
three
my
months, and
gosh.
I was pregnant, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I just had
Holy crap.
preeclampsia. Like, what? My body gonna be okay? Like, what? Like, and my son was super sickly. Like, he had really bad reflux, and it was crazy.
Oh,
So me and my husband were like, oh my, here we go again. And then with her, I spotted like crazy, and I had
oh man.
placenta previa, and then I had subchorionic hemorrhage. So that's why I was like clotting and passing so much
Jeez.
blood. I bled until I was like 14 weeks. And
Oh my
every single
God.
time I was like, oh my God, I lost her. I lost her. Because it was like
Oh,
clots coming out. But every time they did the ultrasound, she was kicking strong and moving around like nothing
wow.
happened. And then when they did the maternal quad, that's the test that they do like for spina bifida or Downs, and it came back
Hmm.
abnormal. And I was
Hmm.
like, oh my God. And they told me this like on a Friday. And they're like, we're going to send you back. We're going to refer you to a high risk OB. So, just wait for that phone call. And so that whole weekend, I'm like crying and I'm like, oh my God, what if she has Downs?
Oh.
Like, what's going to happen? And then when they called me back Monday, they said that the dates were wrong. They had my dates as if I was like 24 weeks and they ran it with the
Hmm.
blood. So they reran the blood with my 28 weeks and then it came back fine. But in a way, I kind of wish I would have just seen the high risk OB and did like what is it, like the amniotic or the
Oh yeah.
chorionic, that
Hmm.
testing, because then I would have known she had BWS when I was pregnant.
Hmm.
All the genetic testing instead of waiting when she's like 11 months old. But
Yeah.
anyways, after that test, because it's not 100% accurate, the whole time I was like, oh my God, what if? What if she actually has like Downs or something? Like, what if?
Yeah.
So I didn't claim it because, once you say it, it happens. So I was like, no,
Hmm.
no. But it always like kind of lingered in my mind. Like, what if they just reran my blood to just keep me happy? And what if something really,
Right.
you never know,
Right.
medical? I mean, and so
Yeah.
then she was born and it was C-section. She was born and everything was fine. And she did have a little, like her tongue was a little bit big, but nobody really thought anything of it. And she was swollen, so I mean her eyes were already big, but they said she had a little murmur. And I automatically thought, oh my God, what if she has Downs? Because her tongue is kind of sticking out
Yeah.
and her eyes are like kind of
Yeah.
swollen. And I'm like, oh my gosh. But I didn't want to say anything. And I kept telling them, how's her murmur? How's her murmur? And they're like, oh no, it
Yeah.
closed. After 24 hours, it closed. So we don't hear anything else. Her heart's fine. So that just kind of like stopped those concerns for me. But then
Hmm.
when we went home and I was trying to breastfeed, and I'm like, I can't breastfeed because I kept saying her
Hmm.
mouth is small. Her mouth is small. She's
Yeah.
not opening up. No, Cam. Her mouth was fine. It was just her tongue was taking up the whole space. That's why I couldn't get it
Yeah.
in.
Oh.
And 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 family members were like, "Oh, her tongue's kind of big," and I'm like, "I know, I know." I told the doctor, and the doctor's like, "Oh, she's gonna grow into it." And I kept googling, like, babies with big tongue, but nothing never came up with BWS when she was younger. Like every time I googled, nothing
Wow.
for BW, and I wish something would have popped up because then I would have just said, "Hey, well, what if
Yeah.
BWS?" And so I kept telling the pediatrician, "Hey, her tongue is kind of big. Like, what's going to happen? Is she going to grow into it? Is she going to have problems feeding? Like, what do you think?" And she was like, oh no, she's gonna grow into it. And I'm like, are you sure? And I'm a nurse, so
Yeah.
like I
Yeah.
push and push and push. Like I am not scared to step on
Good.
doctor's toes. Like I will question.
Hmm.
My husband's like cringing in his chair, and I'm like, so what about
You have
this?
to.
Like you have to,
Yeah.
because they don't
Hmm.
listen. And
Yeah.
she's like, no, I had one patient that was older that had surgery to fix the tongue, but that was when they were like 14 or 15. And I was like, okay, well, maybe she'll grow into it. Let me see. So when she
Hmm.
was like 6 months, 7 months, and we started introducing like the purees, she was struggling because of her
Yeah.
tongue. It was all over the place. And I was like, man, she didn't like pacifiers because her tongue was just there, and she was like gagging every time, like in the ma'am,
Oh.
every time I would try and put the passy, she would spit it back out. Like she never really liked
Oh.
anything else in her mouth. And she
Yeah.
did have, they called it life-threatening reflux. She had
Oh.
two apneic episodes where she like stopped breathing and like started turning pale and like blue, and I was like
Oh.
pounding her back like for dear life. And now it makes sense. Like with her reflux, yeah, it was coming up, but her tongue was probably obstructing. And that's
Hmm.
probably why she couldn't catch her breath, because we could see her, and I'm like pounding her, like, oh my God, is this
Oh.
it? Like, it's turning blue around here. And then we would
Oh,
rush
that's
her to the
awful.
hospital after. Like, but now it makes sense. Like, she had the
Yeah.
reflux, but her tongue was probably obstructing. And then the ENT was like, oh no, she has laryngomalacia from the reflux. GI has to control the reflux. And then GI was like, oh no, she has laryngomalacia. The ENT has to fix it. So they're like pointing fingers, and
Yeah.
it was awful seeing all those
Oh.
doctors. And that makes me so mad, because we saw ENT, we saw pulmonology. They wanted to make sure she wasn't aspirating. We saw GI, like two different GI doctors, and then the doctors in the hospitals, and we had like swallow studies and all that. And through all these doctors, nobody caught it. Like with the
Oh
tongue,
my gosh.
nobody. So here we are, 11 months, and it was really a godsend. She got an ear infection, and I took her to urgent care, and they gave her antibiotics. Well, the
Hmm.
antibiotics were like making her so dehydrated to where she was a little bit lethargic. So I left
Oh.
work, picked her up, brought her to urgent care. Urgent care was like, yeah, she's borderline dehydrated. You need to really push fluids, and or
Oh.
you're gonna have to bring her in tonight. And I'm like, oh God. So I bring her home. She's not wanting to drink or whatever, and it had gone like 7 hours without her urinating. And I'm like, oh, let me just bring
Oh.
her in.
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna bother waiting the last hour. Like it's gonna
Yeah.
be midnight, and I'm gonna be bringing her in.
Yeah.
So I got her all packed up, and we headed that way. And we got a room, and the doctor, the ER doctor, she was doing the exam, and I'm like, oh yeah, and I tell that to all the doctors. I'm like, oh yeah, beware, her tongue is a little bit big, so when you put the blade down, just it's large and in charge. Like just be careful. It's
Yeah.
it's in there. Just be careful.
Yeah.
You can't
It's in
really see
there
the
everywhere.
yeah, it's everywhere. You can't really see the back of their throat, because it's
Nope.
the tongue is all in there. And
Yeah.
so she was like, oh, okay. And I'm like, that's just her. Like, okay.
Yeah.
So she does the exam, and she's like, we're going to give her fluids, and then we'll do labs. And I'm like, okay. So everybody left. I'm holding her. She's about to go to sleep. And I'm just waiting for these fluids to finish. And then the doctor comes back in, and the room is like dark, because, she's trying to sleep.
Yeah.
And just the way that she creeped in, I'm like, she's about
Yeah.
to
What are you
tell
about to tell
me,
me?
like, what's going on? And I've never seen this ER doctor before.
Hmm.
So she comes in, and she sits down in the chair in the dark.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so I'm like getting myself prepared, like, okay, I'm not stupid. What's going on?
Yeah.
And so she's like, oh, I heard you, talking about your daughter's tongue, and that it was big. Does the pediatrician know about it? And I was like, oh, yeah, I told them, and I told all the doctors, and they just say that she's going to outgrow it. And I mean, I have my concerns, but they just keep telling me that she's going to grow out of it, grow out of it. I mean, we were struggling with feeding. I mean, she looked like a little anteater when she was trying to like eat from the spoon. You know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about?
Yes.
Like they tried
Yes.
to get the food, but the food was like going all over, and she's like the little anteater with her. Like I have videos
Yeah.
of it because I'm like, oh, she looks so cute, but poor thing, she can't eat her
Yes.
purees. Like, and my mom's like, oh my god, poor thing, why are you laughing? And I'm like, but it looks so cute.
Yeah. Yeah.
it's it's I guess what we all go through.
Yes.
And I was telling the doctor that we haven't like tried real foods yet because she would choke on them. And she's like,
Hmm.
well, I'm familiar with something. I had a patient, that had this, and she had a really big tongue to where she had to have surgery. And her eyes, she had like the creases in her eyes, sort of like Downs, but just a little bit different. And I'm like, what you trying to
Mm.
tell me? Like, okay, my
Yeah.
Down suspicion is long gone because she's smart. She's trying to talk. Like, what's
Yeah.
going on? And she's like, it's something called Beckwith-Wiedemann syndrome. And I'm like, like, what? How
Yeah.
do you
What
even
is that?
say that? Yeah. So she
Yep.
pulls up on the little computer and she shows me this photo, and I'm like, I have never heard of this. I've never seen it. I've never heard of it. Like, I don't remember this through my P's rotation when I was in school. Like, I don't know. She's like, it's
Yeah.
really, really rare. I had a patient that had it, and she ended up getting, I think she said she had Wilms tumors, but she was fine after treatment, but they caught it early with all the testing. And I was like, Wilms? And she's like, yeah, that's what, I just want to tell you. But hold on, let's not get there first. Let me just do my exam. And I'm like,
Oh my
Wilms
God.
tumor, what
You're
is
like,
this?
what?
Yeah, I'm like, I already don't feel good because we're in the ER and it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, well, Wilms tumor, what is this? And she's already doing the
Yeah.
exam, so I couldn't even pull out my phone and start
Oh
like
my God.
Googling stuff.
Yeah.
So she's like, well, I'm looking at her. She doesn't usually, the children have pits in their ears, and she doesn't have anything, no pits at all, not in the front, not in the back, nothing. And she's like, but her eyes have the creases, but the creases aren't an indicator. So I'm just letting you know that her eyes look like my patient Anna's eyes, but that's not the
Wow.
actual indicators. And she's looking all over her body, and she's like, she doesn't have anything else. All she has is just the tongue. So maybe she doesn't have it, but I would just, tell your pediatrician so you can get some testing done. And I'm like, okay. She says, oh, by the way, the only reason I'm telling you to push with your pediatrician is because they have a great chance for childhood cancer. Okay, I'm going to go look at your lab work, and leaves. And
It's the worst.
I'm like, I'm looking down at her like, oh my God, my
Yeah.
baby. And wait,
Oh.
this is Mother's Day weekend. We're in the
Oh,
ER
good.
that Friday night, and I'm like, oh my God. So I'm like, no, it was like it
Yeah,
was
just make an
Thursday
appointment
night.
with your pediatrician just to find that out. Oh my
Yes, and I'm
God.
like, oh my God, I'm looking down at her. I'm like, what if my baby has this? Like, what's brewing inside of her? Like, I wanted to be like, excuse me, can
Oh.
we do the testing right now, right here,
Exactly. That's what
while
I
we're
said when Owen was
here?
born. I'm like, right now, right this second.
Do it now. Yeah. I'm like, oh my God, how do you just break the news? Oh yeah, by the way, it's childhood cancer. Bye. And just
Yeah.
leaves because you see me already starting to cry. So I'm like
Oh.
holding her and I'm Googling stuff and I'm like, what is this? So I joined
Yeah.
the Facebook group like immediately because I'm like, I need to learn more about this.
Mm-hmm.
And I start looking up stuff like crazy, and the whole weekend that Friday we couldn't get in to see the doctor, so I sent her a message and I said we need to speak like urgent. So that
Yeah.
Monday we got in, and I didn't even tell my husband. He went to work because I was like, I'm not about to tell him. I told him though, because he was like, what is wrong with you? Because I was like moping around the house. I
Yeah.
didn't
So
feel good. I was like,
sad.
I don't want to do nothing for Mother's Day. And he's like, why
Oh.
not? It's Mother's Day. And I'm like, I just want to be home with my babies. I just want to hug them. And he's like, what? And
Oh.
I'm like, I don't want to do anything. And then I told him, and he was like, what? And that's why I didn't want to, tell him. I didn't want to break his heart. And we didn't
Yeah.
even know. So we're both like trying to get, educated on it. And through your website, I learned a lot too. And
Oh,
so, and
good.
I watched your videos too, because I'm like, I need to know what to expect. Like I'm a planner,
Yeah.
so I need to know I'm gonna go in with my guns, blazing with the doctor.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, yeah. Every single time my husband's like, "What are you gonna tell the doctors now?" So,
Yeah.
yeah, he's crazy. So we go in Monday, and she immediately walks in, and she's like, "No, I don't think she has it, because all the indicator, say is just her tongue. Her eyes are fine. That's not really the clinical indicators." And she checked her ear. She says, because there's like a little spot. It looks like, when you pierce your ear and you take it out and it's kind of healing. That's what it looks like. She's like,
It's
"No,
like
I
a
don't
little
think."
line. Is it
No,
like a
it's
little
just like a
line?
little indention. No
See,
line
like
at
Owen
all.
doesn't have the pits. He just has on one ear a line, as if he had like an
Mm,
earring there and it's not there anymore.
yeah, no, it's like a little indention. Not really a
Weird.
line, yeah. And then in the back, there's nothing. And I was like, "Well, what
Wow.
about this?" And she's like, "No, that's just a crease of her ear." And I'm like, "Okay, just making sure." And so she
Yeah.
checked out her body. Both sides were fine. Her arms were fine. And she's like, "I really don't think she has it." I'm like, "Okay, I understand, but
Yeah.
her tongue, like, come on, her tongue
Yeah.
is that's not something like I really feel like she may have it. So let's just order the ultrasound and the AFP, and let's keep it moving until we can do the genetic testing and get
Yeah.
some answers." She's like, "Well, I spoke to the geneticist and he wants to get the genetic testing, but we're gonna wait on the testing." And I'm like, "No, let's do the
Yeah.
protocol. You're already doing the genetic testing." And
Yeah.
what if she has it and then we're gonna wait again to schedule it? And she's like, "No, let's do the genetic testing." And I'm like, "No, let's do the come on,
Yeah.
please.
This is
Like
my
just let's
baby
just do it.
here.
Let's just do it. Like it doesn't hurt to just put her on the schedule, and then if she doesn't have it, take it off." And
Yeah.
she's like, "No, I'm just gonna go with what the geneticist says, and we're just gonna go. But I am gonna take a picture of her, and I'm gonna say, is it okay if I send it to the geneticist?" I'm like, "Yes, but can you just order my ultrasound and
I love it.
AFP, like, please?" And she's like, "Let's just do the genetic testing. We'll go from there." And I was so
Oh, I'd be
upset.
so
I
mad.
was, I was livid. And
Yeah.
so like when we left, my husband's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "No, I am calling tomorrow and I'm getting a second opinion. You're lucky that urgent care is not open." Like,
That is
no, like
awesome.
I was so mad. I just
Yeah.
remember like I was praying on my way home and I'm like, I can't, I need a second opinion, because if she's gonna
Yeah.
not listen to me, like that's not what, no, because I have messages in my inbox from like, with the doctors, questioning her tongue, questioning
Yeah.
Downs again. Like, what do because the tongue, like, come on,
Yeah,
like,
it's not a normal finding on its
it's
own.
not. Yeah, especially when they're just laying there and it's just sticking out like in the
Exactly.
bottle, and she didn't want the pacifier. Like, we knew something was up, but we just didn't know that it was going to be this. So I just
Right.
remember I was, I prayed, and then I called my mom and I was like, "I am getting a second opinion." And she's like, "Calm down, let's just wait." And I said, "No, no." I said, "No, I don't like when someone's gonna tell me like this is my girl. Like, no, I'm
Yeah.
gonna get a second opinion." So
Good
later
for
that
you.
night, I feed the kids, whatever. We put them down, and I check my inbox, and she wrote me, and she says, "I talked to the geneticist, and he said to go ahead and order the ultrasound and the blood work." And I felt
Good.
like I was on top of the world. Like I got out of the
Yeah.
bed, and I was like, "Woo!" Like, sprinting around the house. My husband's like, "What is wrong with you?" And I'm like, "Guess who's right? Guess who's right?"
Mommy
And
knows. Mommy
yeah,
knows.
mommy knows, and mommy will keep advocating for her.
Yep.
And he's like, "Okay, well, let's call him tomorrow and schedule it." He's all calm, and I'm like bucked up, like 9 o'clock at night.
Yep.
I told you, I knew it, I knew it, I knew it. And so the next day, I called and I scheduled it, and we had done the genetic testing, so it was just waiting for it to come back. And
Yeah.
then I just remember I was at work and I was nervous, but I was like, okay, every day passing by, I wonder when the testing's going to come back. And all of a sudden, I get the
Yeah.
email that the test resulted. I didn't get no phone call, no nothing. I just got the email that they released the results. That
And you
was
don't
it.
know what they are.
I don't
Oh
know.
my
So
God.
I opened the email because I'm like spastic. I'm like, okay, let's see. And I log on and I look, and it says the genetic testing abnormal or positive or abnormal for the findings of BWS. It has like the mutation and
Wow.
everything. And I'm like, so they just released this to me and didn't even give me a phone call
Yeah, and
before
you're supposed
to.
to decipher all that?
I was
Like,
like, so, and I just started immediately bawling because
oh,
now my girl has BWS. It's 11 months. It was undiagnosed. We went
yeah.
through all these doctors, like all these hospitalizations, and nobody caught it. We saw the pediatrician. We saw like the other pediatricians when she wasn't there. We saw urgent care. We saw pulmonology. We saw ENT. We saw GI, multiple GIs, but it's like,
Oh
and we
my
went to the
God.
ENT like twice, and we had the
She fell
types.
through the cracks so many
She
times.
fell, and it's like serious. And we even, for the swallow study with speech and all this, and it's like seriously, nobody caught all the nurses. Not saying in the hospital, but like all the nurses on the peds floor, like
Yeah.
nobody caught it. Nobody, like, come on, her tongue is out, like
Yeah.
really. And of course, she doesn't have all the other indicators, and her tongue is mild, but she fell through everybody. And now here we are,
Oh,
11 months, and I didn't know like what was brewing inside. I didn't know.
yeah.
Thankfully, the day before her testing, like the ultrasounds and the blood work, that's when we found out that she had BWS. And of course,
Wow.
I looked up the type that she has. She has the like the sporadic one, the I think it's lit 2, the methylation, loss of methylation.
Loss of methylation. I'm trying to remember which one that is. Like which, like
Yeah.
on the tier.
I think it's like the lower risk one, because I
Oh,
remember
that's
the
good.
geneticist saying that she has the lower risk one, that it was just sporadic. Because I was like, well, what about my son? Should I get my son tested now? And
Right.
he was like, no, this is the sporadic one, that it just happens. You didn't carry it, your husband didn't carry it. It just happened with
Yeah.
the gene writing, that it just loss of methylation. And I'm like, oh Lord. But I mean, it was
Good for you for
crazy.
pushing. I
It
can't
was
even tell you how many times this I've heard that this happens to people. And
it's
it's scary
awful.
because like I would never look at your daughter and think that she
No.
has it because
Hmm.
I don't want to say she looks normal, but she does. Like she
And that's what
and it's crazy if she didn't have the tongue, you would never know.
and see, we
It's just
know when
wild.
she has like her growth spurts and her tongue
Mhm.
protrudes so much, and I'm just praying, I hope she catches up. I hope she catches up. And then all of a sudden she
Yeah.
learns to like stick it back in more, and then it's like,
Keep it
oh,
back.
okay, yeah. I guess she's gotten used to like controlling it. And now she's
Yeah.
good with eating foods, whereas maybe 3 or 4 months ago we would have to really give her like
Yeah.
rice by rice, because she would still choke on it, because
Oh.
she didn't know like how to control it. But now she's getting good.
Yeah.
She can eat apples now, chicken
Oh.
and whole. So she's learned how to maneuver it. But
Yeah.
it's
It's just so sad
crazy.
because it's like you're her mother and you're with her every day
I
and
know.
you basically have to tell them like you need to
Hmm.
diagnose my daughter, like this isn't normal, and it's really not. I
Exactly.
mean, when have you ever seen a child that has a larger
A
tongue
large
for
tongue.
just no reason? I mean, I
Hmm.
don't think I remember when Owen was born, I was like, what the heck, his was so big. And I remember my husband was like, do you think that his tongue's a little big? And I'm like, don't talk about my baby.
It's a sensitive subject. When
Yeah,
people
but
are
then I
like,
looked
"Oh,
at
is
him
she
and I was
okay?"
like, oh, it is big.
I know, it's so crazy. But
I
my
just feel
biggest
for you that you
fear,
had to wait 11 months to like
so
we were
I know
lucky
it
because
makes me,
his signs were so obvious. But I think for
it makes me
people that
so
have
angry.
situations like you is hard because I even like I struggle because I feel like I have come across a couple children on Instagram where I'm like,
No.
oh,
Yeah.
like what do I
I was just
do?
telling my husband today. I was like, "Look at this baby's tongue,"
Yeah,
and he
I say
was
that to
like,
Mike
"It's
all the
just a
time.
big tongue," and I'm like, "No, but look at Mila's tongue. What do you
Yeah,
think?" And he's
Mm-hmm.
like, you are crazy. I'm like, I know. I feel like every child I see now, I'm like, that's BWS, BWS, BWS.
Well, yeah, because then it makes you wonder, like, especially with your story, like, it makes you wonder, um, like, I actually just reached out to a woman on Instagram and I thought about it for a while because I was like, no, maybe not. And then, like, I saw another picture and I'm like, no, I have to. Like, I will
Yeah.
not feel right with myself if I do not.
Mm-hmm.
And she got back to me and she was like, I've mentioned her tongue to my pediatrician a million times and they're telling
Mm.
me it's fine. There's nothing wrong
No,
with,
send
like,
her my
it'll just,
way.
and I was like,
Send her my
And so
way.
I'm going to send her like the
Send
link
her
to
my
this
way.
because she's like, I looked at your website and all the information and now I'm really worried that my daughter has it. And so I gave her Dr. Kalish's info, but I was like, look, you're going to probably have to push. Like,
Yeah, yeah, you have to push.
you're, yeah,
I
you got
fought
to
so
push,
hard.
unfortunately.
I fought so hard to where I was like, I was about to take her and just leave and say, forget about it. Too bad it's 4 o'clock. I can't get in to see another doctor. I'll have to wait till tomorrow. But I was not going to stop because I was like, I don't care
Good.
what you think. Like, my gut, no. Just peace of mind. Just, I'm paying for the testing anyway. I mean, our insurance is
Yeah.
crappy and we're paying a lot of out of pocket. So, I mean, just do the damn test. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna pay for it. I don't care. And if it's expensive, I
Yeah.
don't care. I'm gonna figure it out. Just bill me.
Yeah.
Just
Send me a
I'll
bill in the
figure it
mail
out.
and I'll figure it out
Yeah.
then. Like, you
Um,
can't just tell a mother who's had this concern for the longest time,
the longest, yeah.
like, oh, this is what it might be, but we're not going to order the test. I'd be like, what?
Yeah, no. Mm-mm. I
Like,
was
at
so
when Owen was
angry.
born at Abington, where I work, they were suspecting it. And because I pushed about the tongue and his right side was bigger, like noticeably you could tell. And Dr. Kalish wanted him to be transferred over. And they're like, no, no, no,
Mm.
like, we got it. And I was like, did you send a picture of him to her? Like, can you send a picture? And they're like, well, we did. She thinks he probably has it. And I was like, well, then do the testing now. Like,
Yeah.
do
Why
do the blood
wait?
work. Yeah. So they did the ultrasound, but they would not genetically test him because they were like, it can be an outpatient procedure. I was like, oh, I
He's
was
already
so mad.
impatient. Like,
I'm like, he's
seriously?
inpatient already. Just blood test him.
Do it.
But I had to wait. But I mean, at least I got in to see her within 2 weeks. But I feel
Oh,
for
that's
people.
good.
I need to send people your way that have similar
Yeah.
situations
Because
because
here we
my,
are, 11 months.
yeah,
And we like, now she's 14 months. And we've gone through 2 scans and 2 AFPs. But I mean, not we're starting our first year now. We're seeing all the specialists now.
yeah,
I mean, we could have did all this when she was
in the
younger.
beginning. Yeah. And it
Mm.
just like, I mean, thankfully nothing aside from the two
Oh
emergency
my
trips you
God.
took. But I mean, even that could have been avoided if you guys knew and they had a
Yeah.
plan for her.
And they had a
You know,
plan.
like
Yep.
it's just scary.
No, it's aggravating. I was so angry. And with the doctor, like when it came back positive, she called me on that Friday and she apologized. It was probably
Did
like a
she?
30 or 45-minute phone call. It was a very long phone call. And she was like, first of all, I just want to say I'm sorry. You were not supposed to get those results before I got to my office. So I don't know where it fell, where you got it before. I know you are not feeling good. And I was like, yeah, because I got my answer through the email. Like, I read it
Yeah, not
myself. I
cool.
taught myself what was going on, whereas you were supposed to give me the call and break it to
Yeah.
me nicely, or at least bring us in and break it to us nicely and start talking about statistics and blah, blah, blah. And then she was like, and second of all, I just want to apologize because you had been saying all your concerns since she was young. And I saw her since she was a baby. And, I just apologized because I dismissed all of your concerns. I truly apologize. She said,
Oh,
I'm human. I'm, still practicing. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. But I truly have learned from this one, and my ears are fully open. And
that's
that's the
good.
only reason. That's the only reason why we haven't switched pediatricians because everybody's like, "Oh, I would switch if I was you." But I mean, her ears are open now, so
She owned
whatever.
it.
Yeah, she did. She did. And she said,
Yeah.
thankfully her scans came back good and her blood work was good.
Yeah.
She said if she were to have something, she would have never forgave herself. And I don't think I would have either
Yeah,
because
then you would have been
I
like,
had
what the
been,
hell?
hmm but yeah, I really didn't give her that hard of a time. I just took her apology and I was like, I just really want you to listen and listen to your patients. Because, like the nurse in me, I'm not here to
Yeah.
sue anybody or nothing.
Right.
Just order what you need to order for my kids and just listen to the parents. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
If their first time, second time, doesn't matter. Just listen to them. Keep your ears open because their mom guts, like they just know.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
And a mom gut is a strong gut. Like,
Oh yeah, it
it
really
just, it really is. We just know our
we do.
kids.
It's crazy how we just and see. I knew something. I knew if
Mm-hmm.
she didn't have the downs or whatever, I knew that she had something. Like I knew she would be. I don't want to say special, but I just knew that she would be like unique. I knew something. So when this
Mm-hmm.
came up, I was like, oh, this is it. This is what she has. Like I know she has it.
Yep.
Like no questions. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, her tongue is mild, but I mean, I know. And then we started seeing all the doctors. We saw the geneticist, and he told us like all the statistics and all this stuff. Um, then we saw, what did we see? Oh, we saw cardiology. Thankfully, everything was
Mm-hmm.
good. We had already saw pulmonology in the past, so they didn't refer us to there. We saw ortho. We, because I noticed like one side of her car seat was getting more snug than the other. And I thought, oh my God, here we go.
Ah.
Here's the Hemi. Like, oh, here we go. Here's the,
It's
and she,
coming.
here's all the indicators coming. She didn't have them before, but here they're coming. And
Yeah.
I told the doctor, and I did notice one side longer than the other, and one side
Mm-hmm.
was thicker than the other. And I think it's the same side as Owen. It's her right side. Is that
Yeah,
Owen's?
that's Owen's.
The right
Yeah, that's
side.
Owen's.
It's the thicker, big side. And
Yeah.
so by the time we actually saw the ortho, it had corrected itself. But one was still thicker than the other, but one was no
Mm-hmm.
longer longer. And I'm like, of course they would
Ah.
correct it before we see him. And so now he thinks I'm
Yeah.
this liar.
Yeah, and that I'm nuts.
Yeah, then I'm crazy. I'm the crazy BWS mom that wants to see all the specialists and pay for all these doctors, you know?
You're like, I swear it was
Yeah,
abnormal 3 days
was.
ago.
It was. Yeah. Oh my
I
gosh.
know that's
And then
how Owen is. His will get better, like it'll even out, and then it'll hit a growth spurt, and I'm like,
yeah.
whoa, there it is again.
And it's
Like,
obvious. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And then the thickness, he measured it. She was like 1 centimeter thicker than the other. And he said, well, we'll follow up in a year and see how it gets. But then a little bit after that, she hit a growth spurt. And it was actually a
Mm.
couple weeks ago. One side was longer than the other to where she was tripping a lot and falling. And I was like, oh God, here we go again. And we saw
Yeah.
the pediatrician, and she was like, well, maybe you should see ortho. And I'm like, no, I think it's gonna correct itself. I'm just gonna wait it out because we already had
Yeah.
like enough doctor's appointments and like the ultrasound and the blood work. I was like, this is
Yeah.
enough. Like, let's just wait it out. So it actually corrected itself. So
Oh,
now
that's good.
it was like 3 weeks since we saw her. So now it's okay. She's not falling as much, and I see her
Good.
like walking good. She was walking like lopsided at one point. So
How are
I'm
her
just
feet? Does she have two different sized feet? Or no?
no, they're okay. Actually, her feet are
Oh,
pretty
that's good.
funny. They're
Are
pretty
they?
funny, yeah, because when she was born, they were huge.
Really?
Okay, they were huge, and we always have this joke with my family. Like on my dad's side of the family, we always say the Koraz feet because we all have big flat feet.
Yeah.
And so when she was born, I was like, oh my God, she has my dad's feet. Like, oh no.
You're like, I'm
She's,
sorry.
yeah, her feet were so bad that, oh my God, y'all are gonna
Oh.
laugh. My husband was like, oh, it's like from Lord of the Rings, like my precious. That's how bad, I'm not gonna lie, that's how
Oh
bad her
my
feet were.
God.
I was like, oh my God, this poor girl, how is she gonna wear shoes when she's older? And so, she grew into them and then they stopped
Good.
growing for the longest time. And now
There
they're
you go.
growing. Like she was like 8 months still in 0 to 3 month shoes.
Whoa.
She had itty bitty feet and she was chunky.
Yeah.
And so I was like, this girl, how is her feet gonna support all that weight?
Yeah.
And no, now her feet are growing, so it's starting to catch up.
That's good. It's so
So
interesting how different parts, like with BW's babies, how different parts of them grow at different times. You're
yeah,
like,
it's
I feel
I
like
didn't
sometimes I
know.
put Owen to bed And then like I get him the next morning and I'm like, wait a minute. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you look a little
Yes.
bit different than when I put you to bed yesterday.
I'm telling you, I put her down one night, and next thing you know, the next morning she was so long, and I was like, "What? This girl got so long? I don't remember. She used to be short and chubby,
Yeah.
and now she's thinning out, and she's getting long." And I'm like, "Wow, now she's gonna be big." And from the
Yeah.
BWS, because with my son, she's like starting to catch up with him, and she's thick,
Is she?
and she's strong.
Mm.
She's strong, and I know from
Is
the
she fierce? Is she the BWS
Oh
fierce?
yeah. Oh yeah. She's happy, happy as can be, but sassy
Mm-hmm.
as can be. Sassy,
That's
sassy,
awesome.
and will get her way. And she will, her and my son, they fight, and she will throw herself on top of him because she knows she's chunky and she's heavy.
Yeah. That's
Just like I
awesome.
laugh when I see the videos of Owen with your son. Oh my God, it reminds me so much of Mila.
I feel so
The
bad for
way,
Michael. I'm like, dude, I'm sorry. Like he just owns you. I don't know what to tell you.
yeah, yeah,
And
she's pretty big.
they're 3 years apart. So I'm like,
Yeah, he's
sorry.
gonna
I
be big.
just dropped. Oh yeah, I just dropped Owen off at my sister's, and my son, Owen and her son are 3 weeks apart. And I took a picture of them, and I was like, oh my God, I forgot what like a non BWS child, what the size of them are
Yeah,
supposed to be. They
I
look
know.
so different. Like my nephew's like this big, and Owen is like this big. So
Yeah,
funny. I'm like, no
I've
wonder everyone looks at me like I'm nuts when I'm lugging him around.
yeah, they're gonna be big, and that's so weird how they're all so big.
I know.
They're like
How
big
big was she when
bones
she was
and
born?
big. See, and that's what she didn't fit the indicator at all. She had fine sugars. She
Wow.
was like 7 pounds, 7 pounds, 9 ounces, and
Oh
21
yeah.
inches long. She
Yeah,
didn't
she
fit
was.
nothing.
Wow.
Nothing. Fine sugars. Oh, we even saw the endocrinology, just to check her thyroid. Thyroid was fine too.
Wow.
She really
It's
did. Like
crazy.
I
If you didn't push, you wouldn't
would
she
have
wouldn't be
never
diagnosed.
known, and hopefully
Oh my
nothing would,
God, so scary.
happen in the future. But it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I should send my story to for what is it, Dr. Kalish? Just
Yes,
so
you
she
should.
can learn from Mila, because Mila doesn't have none of the
You
indicators,
should
just her
because
tongue.
it always makes me wonder, like, because usually they don't take that seriously if they don't like. Luckily, her blood came back positive, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it might not come back positive, and they still
Yeah,
might have it
false.
based on like all their features. So you should sign her up for the registry if she's not signed up
Oh, there's a
already.
registry?
Yeah, there's a
Oh, okay.
registry, and you can like, you can decide what they get to see of her like medical paperwork or whatever. And they basically, she like Owen's a part of it. A lot of people have joined it to where they basically collect all the data from them, and then they
Mm-hmm.
kind of just try and find like similarities, patterns, like all
Hmm.
sorts of stuff, so that they can further research it and develop new, I don't know, like ways
Mm,
to, I guess,
research.
address it and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
So, I
she
mean,
doesn't.
she's a very rare case.
Yeah, because she was like, oh, looking at the list, all she has is just her tongue. And you're supposed to have like 3 or 4 of the clinical indicators for a clinical diagnosis. And I was like, no, for
Yeah.
the testing. She's like, no.
Yeah.
And I was like, no,
Oh, I would have been
don't.
steaming.
Oh, I was. Oh my gosh. My husband was like,
Your
can you
husband
just
was probably
stop
like, do
talking?
I get in the car with her or do I
Yeah.
not?
I was so, once you get me started, like that's it. I couldn't stop talking about it at night.
He's
I could
probably like,
not
I
stop
just want
talking.
to go to bed.
Yeah, he's like, can you just drop it? And I'm like, no, but you just don't get it. You don't get it. No.
They don't get it until you're right. And then you're like, I was right.
Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh, well, I'm glad you scheduled the ultrasound because we had it this morning. Good. I'm glad. Because I was going to go
Oh
out
my
and get a
gosh.
second opinion, and I was going to find
Good
somebody.
for
And if
you.
they didn't listen, then I was going to go somewhere else. I mean,
And it's a
yeah.
shame because I feel like not every mom, and it's not like a downside to anybody, but I don't think everybody has that type of personality where they are going to push
Yeah.
it. So it makes me scared for the people that are more like mild-mannered and like aren't going to push the issue and just accept what a doctor tells them. I feel like that happens all the time. And then it becomes really scary when it's like, wait a minute, they actually really could have this. And like, nobody's listening to me.
No, and I don't
It's
like that
sad.
feeling. I don't like that
No, it's
feeling when
awful.
they're
I
not
mean,
listening. I'm like, hello, I'm talking to you. Did you
yeah,
hear what
here's
I
my
said?
baby.
Yeah, I was like, okay, but did you hear my concern? Yeah.
Yeah. I
And
really, I really
luckily,
appreciate you coming on and
okay.
telling about her.
Oh yeah, no, thank you for having us. Yeah,
Yeah, because I'm
yeah,
going to
and
refer people
luckily,
your way because, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, luckily, I'm a nurse and I got like that
Mm-hmm.
push just from nursing because I've seen it on the floor. I've seen it with my patients where things have been missed or undiagnosed, and we have to call them up
Yeah.
and say, hey, this and this and this. And then they're like, oh, well, let's just run this and this. And then we'll do the orders. And it's like, well, like what they got. Like, we
Yeah.
were telling you.
Yeah.
So that's where, but
That's where that
no,
comes
but
from.
thank you for. Yeah, no, I really appreciate you having me though. I was like super nervous to say my story because I feel like it's different.
Yeah, your story's really different. I mean, because even I was looking at your daughter today and I'm like, oh, she's so cute. And then I'm like, but she really doesn't
She
fit the
doesn't look
standard.
like
Like, I mean, when I really look at her, I can see similar, like, because I feel like all BWS babies kind of look
they
similar.
look alike.
So I can see that in her. But like, if I was scrolling, like, if I never met you or knew you or whatever and was just scrolling, like, she's not somebody that I would be like, oh my gosh, maybe this is what she has. You know what I mean? I would probably just like pass right by her and be like, oh, she's really cute. But like, that's it.
And that's what the geneticist said. He said, looking at her, we wouldn't know at all.
Did he say if he's seen other kids that are so like not characteristic like her?
No. Mm-mm. He said,
Wow.
I don't believe it. He said, and he actually did more, we're waiting for the testing to come back. He did more genetic testing just to see what type of, not what type of mutation, but to learn like what actually went wrong and if there's anything else mutated within the chromosome 11 that would say, because he said sometimes when it's like sporadic and it mutates, sometimes it can correct itself. So he says, I
Huh.
think hers might have corrected itself because she doesn't have any of the other indicators at all, just her tongue and maybe like a hemi here and there. But
So he's
he said,
saying
I want
it
to
can
learn a little
like
bit more.
it can correct itself after the fact.
That's what he was saying because he was like, she
Wow.
doesn't have anything. And then he was like, her tongue isn't even that bad, so maybe it corrected. And I was like, no, just wait till you put her on the table and you open her mouth. And
Yeah,
then
and it comes out.
when she opened, he was like, oh, okay, oh, it is a little large. And I'm like, see, I told you. I told
Yeah.
you. And I've been watching, been paying attention to her teeth because I was really scared that her tongue was going to push them out. But so far, her teeth look okay.
That's good.
And then we are supposed to see the dentist soon just to kind of see what they say,
Get it?
which
Yeah.
I'm nervous about that one because my fear is the tongue reduction.
Yeah, that's
I
I
know it's
wish like every time someone brings that up, I wish I could say like, "Oh, don't worry about it," but I can't say that at
and all
all.
those
I wouldn't be
those
being honest.
photos.
I know. It's really hard and that's where I'm at this time because we really need to take him to an orthodontist or dentist because his are pushed forward. So I'm like, and his type, they just found out that the tongue can grow. Like it's
Oh.
before they didn't think that happened. And his definitely, like after his tongue reduction, when he was healed, his whole, like he would sleep with his whole entire mouth closed, like no problem. And now, I mean, his tongue's still pretty big and it's out a lot of the time.
It's so
And then when
cute
he
though.
actually, it is cute.
It's so
When he
cute.
actually sticks it out, I'm like, oh my gosh.
It's like you get shocked, like, oh my god, there's the tongue. Oh, but then again, it's so cute. Like, oh, it's so crazy what we have to, go through, and
I
we haven't
know.
even gone through as much as you have. So you're the superwoman.
Oh,
to go
thanks.
through the to go through the first tongue reduction and then potentially another.
Yeah, that was I would like I feel for people that have to go through it because it's not an easy thing to do at all. You just feel so incredibly helpless. That's the only way I can describe it.
Hmm.
And it's even more hard because these kids are such fighters. Like
Hmm.
they're so determined that like I remember for Owen, I was constantly like, he's going to rip the tube out. He's going to rip it out. And like they weren't listening to me. They're like, oh no, like he's a little bit. He was only 7 weeks old. I'm like,
Mm.
I'm telling
Oh
you,
no.
he's gonna rip it out. And they had it sutured to his nose. And when they went to extubate him, they were like, where's the suture? I'm like, he ripped it. I told you he ripped it.
Yeah. That's what
Like,
Camila would do. She's so strong.
yeah.
That's
So
I
someone
can't.
said Kelly said, do you know a Kelly? I'm the worst with names. Busan.
Oh, that's my sister. Would
Oh,
she
she
say,
said
"Hey,
showing family
Kelly"?
support for y'all. Love y'all so much.
Oh, yeah. Oh, hey, Kelly. It's my sister. And I
That's
remember she
awesome.
was like, "Oh, her tongue is a little big," and I was like, "I know. I told the doctors, but I don't know."
Yeah.
And she was even. I remember she was even like trying to put the passy in, and Mila was spitting it
Right.
out
Like,
because
yeah, like,
she was like gagging because
oh.
it would yeah it would make her gag. So I'm like, well, at
So
least I
as
don't
of
have
right
to.
now, they don't think they'll have to fix it,
Well, we have to see the dentist.
and
And
then
I
he'll
was
kind of decide.
I told, and you know what? I told the geneticist, I was like, hey, because what I read from all the group, I was like, hey,
Hmm.
I'm just, concerned about her jaw. And he was like, her jaw? And I said, just about the tongue, pushing, and this was before like all her teeth came out. I'm
Yeah.
scared for her teeth coming out and, the tongue pushing it forward and messing with her jaw. And he laughed and he made me feel really stupid. And he was like, her jaw, that's nothing to
Yeah.
worry about, and was continued typing. And I'm like, all right, I got you.
Yes, it
I got you.
is.
Okay. I'm gonna remember that. I remember that. Okay. And my husband was like,
Yeah, I mean, like,
after he was like, did you feel stupid? I was like, yes, I felt stupid, but I'm
oh.
gonna keep pushing it and see. I
Yeah.
guess he's not familiar with that part, seeing a
He
dentist
must
for
not be because I mean, it only makes sense. I even noticed, like, now that when Owen closes his whole entire mouth and does get his tongue in, he's got the classic like big cheeks, and I do look at his jaw and it
mm,
does look like it's coming forward to fit
mm,
the tongue in his mouth. I see it. His jaw is
mm-hmm,
becoming more like, I don't know, like square and out. That's the only way
mm-hmm.
I can describe it. But
See,
it
she has like
definitely is a
the
concern.
big cheeks, but I don't know like what it's supposed to
Yeah.
look like normally, and I don't know. I guess I'll just follow up with the dentist to see what they do like X-rays or anything of the teeth. Or
I don't know. That's a good question. I probably should have taken Owen already.
oh, but it's like, come on, all these appointments that we have to go to anyway.
I know. I kind of felt like, okay, I'm having a little bit of a break because everything
Mhm.
was like boom, 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 boom. But now I'm
Mhm.
like, all right, like I probably should because almost all, he doesn't have all of his teeth, but they're almost all in. So I'm like, I should probably
Yeah.
take him. Has your daughter ever had a sleep study?
No. And see, that would
No.
be my next question
Yeah.
for that. And see, she for when she had her reflux, she had what is it called? She had Laringo, Malaysia, and then she had what is that other thing called? I forgot the name of it. Where it's from the reflux, and they have I can't remember the name of it, but it's like they're trying to get away from the reflux and they're turning and looking away, but it looks like seizure activity. I forgot the
Oh.
name of it. Not Steven Johnson. I can't remember the name, but we had a EEG done, and she actually did
Hmm.
really good with the EEG. And I know they like put all the stuff on the head and they wrap it around just like in the sleep study. So I think she would do okay
That's
with
good.
it.
Yeah, if
But
she would do
it's
good
just
with it, it doesn't hurt to get it done.
I know that was my next thing. But I'm like,
I know.
kind of getting nervous. I'm like, oh, the dentist is the big one, and then that sleep study, because the sleep study would be like the definite indicator if we would need it or not.
Yeah. Yeah, the
And it,
sleep study and the dentist would be the two that are going to really give you an idea of what it's doing. And because I learned that, like, Owen, a lot of his tongue is in the back.
mm-hmm,
Like, that's where a lot of his problem is because it's so thick.
mm-hmm,
Like, I mean, before it was reduced, I could see all of in the front, but Dr. Taylor, his plastic surgeon, was like, it's very big back there. And the
mm.
hemi is on his tongue too.
No way.
Yeah, the right
It
side of
can
his
go
tongue
on the
is,
tongue.
it's so much bigger than the left. And I only noticed it when he struggled with purees, like you said. And then
Mm-hmm.
when he was starting to eat food that was bigger, he would always roll it to the left side of his mouth. And I'm like, why is he
Mm.
doing that? And then when I saw his tongue stick out, I'm like, oh my God, because there's no room on that side.
You know
Like
what?
it was like huge and then thin.
She eats a lot of her food on the left side. That's where she
Hmm.
starts on. And it's weird.
Yeah.
She like twists her tongue so where it's
Yes.
sideways, rolls it and chews,
Yes.
and then we'll twist
Uh-huh.
it the other way and get it on that side. And sometimes she'll even put her finger and she'll chew it on there. And if she chokes,
Oh
she'll
my
get
God.
it out. And I'm like, this girl really learned how to work that thing.
Good for her. That's
She
awesome.
doesn't look like I mean, she looks like an anteater sometimes when she's eating.
She's so
Yeah.
cute. I can't even take her. She's so cute.
Oh, thank you.
And she's like a mini you.
Oh,
She looks like
really?
a mini
Thank
version of
you.
you. I'm like, oh my God, she
Oh,
looks just like
yeah.
her.
Oh, thank you. I get so excited because my son looks just like my husband.
Isn't that the worst? You carry them
They're
around for 9 months
twins.
and then they pop out looking
Yep.
like your husband. You're like, what the hell is that?
Yeah. I'm like, oh, he looks just like him. And I'm like, oh, that's great. I'm the one that had the preeclampsia.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm the one
oh,
that felt
and
like
pups.
crap.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I was big like a whale. Lord.
Yeah, were you
Yeah.
big with her when you were pregnant with her?
Yeah.
Like bigger
Mm-hmm.
than
I was really
normal?
big. Um, I was big with both. I carried
Okay.
really big.
Yeah.
Yeah, with him I gained like 50 pounds, and with
Oh, that
her
makes
I
me feel
gained
so much better.
like 50 or 60. It was huge.
We're in the 50, 60 pound club.
Yeah, but it was my fault too because I like to eat. So
Hmm.
I was like, oh, I'm pregnant. I'm pregnant for year 2 in a row. Past the cookies and ice cream. And I was like, oh God, I'm gonna be diabetic, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, but thankfully I wasn't.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Hmm.
Well, you should do you want to tell everybody about our plan?
Oh yeah, yes, yes. I actually contacted Teresa, her. So hopefully we can get together and have a conference here in Louisiana to teach.
Woo.
I know I'm so excited to teach the physicians here because none of the doctors really know. Just because we have a children's here,
Hmm.
and I contacted one of the ladies in our group. I can't remember her name, but her daughter has it, and they live like in the West Bank from us. And I asked her, I said, hey, I'm just thinking of, CHOP. Do you think it's a good idea for me to switch to children's here? And she said, no, they know nothing on BWS. And I was like,
Whoa.
oh, I was like, okay,
Oh.
that was my fear. She said, no, stick with Oshner, stay there.
Wow.
So I'm like, but that makes me want to educate them more
Right.
to
Yeah, because
get
they're a
her
children's
down
hospital.
here. Yeah, to get her, the physicians down here and just educate all the doctors, all the pediatricians on it because I really don't want another mom to go through like what we went through
No.
ever and just have and just thinking of it if we didn't see that ER doctor, we would never know. And that
Yeah.
breaks my heart.
Yeah.
That
That is
breaks
kind of
my heart.
crazy. Like you go for an ear infection and then that's how you find it.
Yep, just because of that. Nobody else. No other
Wow.
doctor, but that one
Have you ever
ER
gotten in
doctor.
contact with her and
No, I
said
want to though.
you
And tell
should
her
and be
thank you.
like, yeah, like you really were on your game and really helped because I've been saying that forever and no one listened to me.
Nobody. But then she just straight up dropped the news and then left.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, but you might want to work on your bedside manner a little bit.
Yeah, don't leave me in. You know, you saw me crying and you left me there crying in the dark.
Yeah, that's not cool. That's where
Oh
like you give
man.
someone a hug, tell them everything's gonna be
And
okay.
just follow up with your pediatrician, sweetie. You
Yeah,
know that it's
yeah,
okay. The reason for, this diagnosis is for the testing every 3 months to catch it. Like, I would have been fine, but no, just like,
yeah.
oh, by the way, childhood cancer is a risk. Okay, bye.
See you
Happy
later.
Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day. I'm like, oh my
That's how they
God.
told. That's how I found out when I said when Owen was in the NICU and they were looking at his right side, they were talking amongst themselves and said, "Do you think one side's bigger?" And I was like, "Yes, yes, it is. I've been telling you." And immediately she's like, "We need to order an ultrasound and look for cancerous tumors," and left. I was like, "What?" Like, I was crying. I didn't know what was
Yeah,
happening.
they
And thank
leave you
God
there.
we had an amazing nurse because nurses are the
Mm-hmm.
shit.
Mm-hmm.
And they really are.
Thank
And
you.
she had like everything printed out for me and like
Oh,
handed it
how
to me. She
nice.
sat with me. I still talk to her. I'm like, you were like,
Oh,
yeah. Oh my God, she was so great.
that is so
She actually works
nice.
at the hospital I work at because that's where I delivered. So,
Oh,
yeah, I'm
that
like,
is
oh
so
my God.
nice. You can keep up with her.
Mm-hmm.
Keep in touch. Oh, that's so
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. So we're gonna do it.
Hmm.
We're gonna get Chop down
Yeah.
there, and we're gonna
Oh
figure
my
this
God,
out
that would be
because
so
no
great.
one should have to go through that.
Mm-mm. No, we just have to get all the details together. I'm waiting for the
Yeah.
doctor to send me back the contact for Oshner. And
Cool.
then my friend works for children, so I hope she can give me like the top contact. Because I just want to be like, hey, my daughter went undiagnosed. Like, this should not happen. I'm just
No.
one angry parent trying to educate everyone here so no one has to go through this again.
And really, like, if you really think about it, and let's say your daughter was never diagnosed, and you take her for like a routine physical, and then they feel a mass on her kidney, then what?
Exactly. Then I would have been pissed. I would have been
Like,
so mad.
and I don't think that's what people realize. Like, cancer in our kids is a big problem because they
It
grow
is.
so freaking fast. So, cancer in our
Mm-hmm.
kids is going to grow so much quicker than cancer in another child. So, not diagnosing a child is it's really a
It's
liability if you really
important.
think about it.
It
Yeah,
is, and
like,
I think that's why the doctor like apologized that long. And I was like, look, I really don't want any hard feelings at all. I just want to be listened to. I just want to continue
yeah,
with the testing. Just let's just keep doing it and just keep your ears open and let's just keep it moving. I'm not gonna switch, because you apologize. So let's just keep
yeah,
it going.
water under the bridge and move on.
Yeah, let's just move on. You learn from it. Just listen to every other parent's concerned, even if it's something stupid. So now she's like, oh, you're concerned? Referral. Oh, for this, let's put a referral. I'm like,
She's like, I'm not
yes,
messing around.
yes, yes, I like
You're
it.
like, finally.
Finally,
Oh.
wow. Yeah, because I mean, all she has to do is put the referral, and we're over here paying for all the
Yeah,
stuff.
that's why I don't really understand why it's such a big, like, why there's such a resistance, like, to parents that have these concerns. It's like, you're not the one paying for it. Like,
Yeah,
you're
you're
just
not at all.
putting in the order. Like, just let us take care of our kids.
I'm the one getting the calls from like the authorization. Hey, your insurance. I was like,
Mm.
just tell me. Just do the genetic testing. Just do it.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't enough like proof to do the genetic testing. So it was like, just do
Oh,
it.
so did you guys have to pay out of pocket for it?
Yeah, but still waiting for that bill to come.
Well, that's hopefully it'll never come.
I know.
But even
It's.
that, like, imagine if someone was just like, well, we can't afford it, and people are telling me
I
that
know.
she probably doesn't have it. Like, it's
Well,
just so
I need
crazy
to
to me.
know. I need to see.
Yeah.
Whatever it costs. If I could pay $10 a month, I'll do it.
Yep.
Whatever, because I just need peace of mind.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Especially like reading up all the risks, and even though it doesn't really matter if you have like the higher tier one or the lower, like it can really just happen in anyone.
Yeah, that's um Maddie and the girl that I saw at CHOP, her daughter was in the 1% risk, and they found I think she had hepatoblastoma.
Oh God.
It was, yeah,
Did they
crazy.
catch
And
it early, like
they
enough
called it
time?
on like her second ultrasound. I think at the time she was like 3 or 4. She's how old is she now? She's under 1. She like just got done chemo a couple months ago.
Oh,
But yeah, she found it, I think on their second scan. But even she said, like, I almost wonder if it was there on the first scan and they missed it.
And then you see, you can't help but wonder.
Yeah. And she was
You
like,
can't.
because, like, it seemed like there was something, and then they're like, oh, no, it's nothing type of thing. But then, yeah, I know. But then I think she got her
See?
second scan done at CHOP, and they were like, no. And then, like, tested it, and yeah, that's what she had. And it was wild because I went to see her, and she was in Owen's room that Owen had for his tongue reduction, and I was like, whoa!
All the
I like
memories.
I was not prepared at all. I was like, oh my
Mm-hmm.
God. And then I felt bad
No.
because I'm like, I should not be crying right now. He's fine at home. Like, she's in a much worse situation, but this is too much for me.
It
I'm
was
like,
rough,
oh
yeah.
God.
That time of your life was so rough.
Oh my gosh.
That's what
I
I'm
think that's
nervous
why I'm so
for.
glad that all of like us have like connected and just are doing
Mm-hmm.
this and sharing our story, because otherwise
We're
no
all
one really
going through it
knows.
together.
Yeah.
No, and it breaks my heart because Morgan, do you know Morgan in the group? Her daughter, they said that she may have to have the tongue reduction. I think
Which
like Morgan
Morgan
Timmons or
Timmons.
something. Yeah.
Hmm.
She, I always tell her, I'm like, oh, that's Mila's tongue twinsy, because
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
their tongues are kind of the same. And so
Yeah.
now it scares me. Like my heart dropped when she said she had the sleep study. She posted it, and that she
Hmm.
had the sleep study, and they may have to have the tongue reduction. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So that makes me more nervous to see the
Yeah.
dentist.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think her daughter's like 11 or 12 months.
Oh,
So
she's still little.
she's small, and Mila is now 14 months. So it just makes me nervous. Like,
Yeah.
what tongue reduction for a younger baby versus an older baby?
Yeah, I think the majority of the time they like to try and wait as long as they can. Like, the only reason why they did Owen so little was because they were like, he's severely obstructing while he sleeps. And I knew that he was because I put the owlet sock on him.
Mm-hmm.
And I told my husband, I was like, we always said that we would have the boys share a room because we don't have a ton of bedrooms in our house. And
Mm-hmm.
they're boys and they wind up in the same room anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, he's not go until we know what is going on with his tongue. He's not leaving our room. Like, he'll
Mm-hmm.
be next to our bed in a little rack and play. And that
Yeah.
outlet alarm woke me up numerous. It scared the crap out of me. But like, it would alarm and I would look at him and he looked like he was sleeping peacefully. But he
Mm-hmm.
wasn't breathing. Like, he wasn't getting any oxygen to his brain. And I was like, wake up.
Oh my gosh, that's so
Yeah,
scary.
so I was like, that's the only reason why they did it that young. So I think it's a little bit better when they're like,
Okay.
not like old,
Older.
but a little older. Um, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah. I wouldn't know
But
until I saw the
hopefully,
doctor.
fingers crossed she doesn't need it.
Oh, I know. I'm just so nervous. And then,
Yeah,
nervous knowing that Morgan may have to go through that. Poor girl.
I know.
But
Well,
yeah.
you'll keep me posted on the hospital stuff because we're definitely going to make it happen no matter what
Yeah.
the logistics are,
It'll be
because
fun.
this kind of stuff cannot happen to other people.
No.
And I am going to give your information, if it's okay, to that
Yeah.
woman, because your guy's story seems extremely similar.
Yeah. It's
And
bad.
I
Like,
always hope that I'm wrong. Like, I'm not
I
a
know.
doctor. I don't know everything, but I do know
You just never know.
what a
But
BWS baby looks
you're
like now.
concerned for everyone because you don't want them to go through what
Hmm.
we've gone through, we're all
Yeah.
gone through. So,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
I almost
you could
think my
definitely.
situation's a little easier than yours because I knew from so early.
See, and I wish I knew. I
Yeah.
wish I knew. Because then I think I would have probably taken it better.
Hmm.
Knowing that we started the ultrasounds when she was a baby and the testing and
Right.
okay, every 3 months would have been okay, but since we thankfully nothing was there at the
That's
11th
awesome.
month, thankfully, but it was just like those what ifs.
Yeah.
Maybe the next person might not be that lucky that we did, that like
Exactly.
we were.
Yeah,
So that's the
exactly.
scary part.
I know.
But yes. Well, thank
Well,
you for
thank you for
having
coming on.
me. Yes.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you decided to come on. And I know
I
it's
know.
nerve-wracking at first. People are like,
It
I'm so
really is.
nervous. I'm like, I know, I totally get it. But everybody learns. So I'm really thankful that you
Mm.
shared your story with us.
Oh, thank
And
you.
I'm going to meet you in person in
I
Louisiana.
know. You have to, yeah. If only our
We're going to
house was
push and
big
we're going to make
enough,
it
but
happen.
yeah, we can definitely have it at our hall, like the whole thing there.
That's
It'll be
awesome. I'm
fun.
so
Yeah,
excited.
it'll be great.
So,
Yeah.
yay. Well,
All
have a
right,
good
well,
night and give your cutie some hugs from us over in
thank you.
Pennsylvania.
Yes, yes. You're so lucky to be there next to Chop. I'm so
Oh my
jealous.
God.
I
I
want to
know.
go
I
so
know.
bad.
We
So
are really
bad.
lucky. I
I've
say
already
that to my
like,
husband all the time.
yeah. Because
I'm like, we
hospitals
really need
here,
to.
they don't really know anything.
Yeah,
It's
I
sad.
can't even imagine that. It's a whole different way of dealing with this
Mm,
syndrome because
yeah.
everyone
No one's
around you is like,
specialized
what?
here.
You're more
Mm-hmm.
specialized in it than them, really.
Yeah. Telling them all, oh, Beckwith-Wiedemann syndrome, the indicators, da 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 da. And they're like, I'm like, oh, you're a resident? Come here, let me teach you so you don't mess this up when you're
Hmm.
when you're practicing.
That's
My
great.
husband's like, oh Lord, here we go. I'm like, what? It's education.
Hmm.
What? He's
Yes, it
like,
is.
oh Lord, here we go.
That is awesome. She's got
Yeah.
she's got a good mom though, and that's what she needs. So you
Oh,
should be
thank
proud of
you.
yourself because it's not easy to do that. It's not easy to
No,
tell doctors that they're not doing their job.
no. Mm-mm. It makes me so mad when they go against it.
Yeah.
But all we can do is just educate, and hopefully we can actually have a conference down here, and it'll
Hmm.
be a big hit, and everybody can leave like learning something
Yes.
from the
Learning
public
and
too.
doing better for the next
Mm-hmm.
patient that they have.
Definitely.
Well, thank you
Awesome.
again
But all
and
right,
have a good night. And yeah, keep me
you
posted on everything.
too. All right. Thank you. Good night.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.